You ready?
Yes.
Ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, we're in the course of love. I'd like to ask you to take a breath right now, just a minute, just take a second to get centered in. And just remind yourself that you don't have to believe the ideas. I don't have to believe it. 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 You remind yourself you don't have to welcome it. You don't have to welcome it. I 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 don't have to welcome it. Then remind yourself, I don't have to accept it. 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 I don't have to accept this. I don't have to accept this. Some of this I might actively resist. 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 Some of this I'm going to find hard to believe. Some of this I'm going to find it hard to believe. Some of this I'm going to find hard to believe. Some of this. Some of this might startle me. Some of this might startle me. Some of this might startle you. Some of this might startle you. Some of this may startle you. You're not being asked to analyze the ideas. You're not being asked to analyze the ideas. You're not being asked to analyze the ideas. I'm not being asked to analyze the ideas. I'm not being asked to analyze the ideas. If I use the ideas, I'll see that the ideas are true. If I use it, I'll see that it works. If I use it, I will see that it works. If I use it, I will see that it works. If I use it, I will see that it works. Okay, we're still in chapter 31, the nature of the mind, and this paragraph that I'm going to start with. Let's see here. Wait a minute. Lost my page. 31, 20, 31, 33. Okay.
Yep.
31, 31. Okay. Hmm. 31:30 is, you do not think you are looking for yourself in others. You don't think you're looking for yourself in others, but think instead that you're looking for something or someone other than yourself. I'm looking for anybody but me.
Mm.
At certain times of your life, you state this seeking you are doing quite clearly, and it's always specific. You are looking for a friend. You are looking for a spouse. You're looking for a mentor, especially on the weekend. Hopefully all of them wrapped up in one sometime. You believe you are seeking something other than you to complete yourself.
Mm.
Because you are seeking to complete yourself, you believe you are seeking something other than you to complete yourself. That's funny. Because I'm seeking to complete myself, I think I got to find something other than myself to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. You know, it's like I'm seeking for that camera, but I think in order to get that camera, I need to look for something other than the camera.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So you are seeking wholeness, and you are even correct in seeking wholeness from your brothers and sisters. just not in the way you perceive it. It's okay for us to look for ourselves in others, but not the way we've been taught to do it. So it's nothing wrong with me looking for myself in you, as long as I do it in a way other than the way that the world has taught me to do it. It's okay if I look for myself in you, if I'm looking at it as you are me, that we are innocent, that we are both powerful, that we are both reminders of who we really are, then it's okay, because I'm reminding myself of who I am through you. That's different. Then I'm looking for you to make me whole. Okay, see the difference? Okay, so that was 31:30, and I wrote down the core idea, and that was no matter what you think you are seeking and where you are seeking it, and no matter who you are seeking it through, you're really only seeking to complete yourself, and you are correct in seeking your wholeness, but not in the way you perceive seeking your wholeness in others. Nothing outside yourself can complete you. Nothing outside yourself can complete you, but it can remind you of who you really are. Nothing outside of me can complete me, but everything outside of me can remind me that I am loved, that I am loving, that I am lovable, that I am spirit. Nothing outside yourself can complete you, but it can remind you of who you really are. So every relationship is either reminding us of who we really are, or every relationship you have is helping to help you forget who you really are. There's only two things that's happening in relationships. Like, he's either helping me remember who I am with that noise I'm creating outside the window, or he's helping me to forget who I am through the noise I'm hearing outside of the window. And I'm creating the noise outside of the window. It's coming from the one mind that we all share. So it's really could be seen as a collective attempt not to hear. You see what I'm saying? You know, because there's a part of us that doesn't want to hear the truth, so there's a part of us that created the lawnmower guy. But since we're using the lawnmower guy to remind ourselves that we created the lawnmower guy, then the lawnmower guy is reminding us of who we really are. So instead of making us forget, he's actually creating a conversation that he's unaware of. In his wildest dreams, he wouldn't think we were talking about him right now. He doesn't even know we exist. So he's not only being heard, he's being observed, and he's being used to teach a whole group of people that he has no idea that they exist. So how many things are happening around you like that that you are not aware of any more than he's not aware of us? Think about that. That's deep. You don't know how many times you've been the subject of a conversation that you didn't even know was happening by people that you didn't know existed. That's deep. That's deep when you really think about it. So if you notice, then I didn't run away from the fact that I was making myself feel irritated about the noise. What I did was use the noise to remind me of who I really am. So that was the universe giving us a demonstration right then of what you're supposed to do with any irritation. And he says, and therein lies your power, your abundance, and your happiness. So any thoughts about, one of the things I would like us to encourage would be to like respond to this and say, what I heard you say was, and then that takes you beyond analyzing, and it takes you into remembering. Like if I go, well, what did I just hear me say? I just heard me say that I can't find my completion in somebody else really, but what they can really do is remind me of who I really am, and when I'm reminded of who I really am, therein lies my power, my abundance. See, that's different from what do you mean by finding your power and abundance and happiness? What do you mean by you can't complete yourself in others? See, that's totally different from what I heard was I can't complete myself in others, but others can help me remind myself of who I am. See the difference? Yeah. So then you walk away with the true interpretation of what you're supposed to be using people for. And so that's the difference between analyzing the truth and hearing the truth. Okay, because there's as many different interpretations of what I said as there are people in the room, but there's a common hearing. Would you mind not tapping that thing? That's okay. No, I'm taping it, so I know the camera's on. Only thing it's gonna pick up is click, click, click.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I created it. Don't you dare say, yeah, you created that. It's my dream. Boy, you talking about getting rid of judgment and talking about getting rid of anger. Start looking at your reality like that. Like as soon as I went, no, you didn't create that, I created that. Then there was nothing for me to forgive or try to change in anything she was doing. But had I looked at it like I had nothing to do with what was being created, then I would have spent my time trying to change the other person's mind. So as you wake up, that happens less and less and less and less and less and less and less, because you start to reclaim your power and you start to use everything around you to remember. So again, I use that to remember, to help me remember my power. See, that's what you do with everything. Everything during the day that happens to us is another opportunity for us to remember our power. That's the only thing that's happening all day until we start doing it. But we love so much and we're so powerful that we create hundreds of different ways a day to remind ourselves that we're creating it.
Yeah.
Some ways I'm willing to buy into and say I created it. Some ways I'm not willing to buy into and say I created it. And the ways I'm not willing to buy into saying I'm creating it, then that's where I have to reclaim my power, because that's where I've just given my power away. See the difference? So you have to, so we have to reclaim the power back that we're giving to everything else to create what's happening to us. And as we do that, we experience an easier and easier life. Life starts to take care of you instead of you taking care of you. That's when I call going into the miracle zone, the cool zone. So anybody else, what did you hear in that paragraph?
Well, I'm sorry. You said that right. I want to raise my hand because I have a pretty deep question.
Okay.
If I'm creating that which is around me, today I found out. First thing, the top boss came to me and my partner at work, and this is the second time in the last 6 months this happened. Said we're letting so and so go. She's just not with it, and I, as partners and spending late nights creating magazines and whatever, get pretty darn close, and pretty close as friends, I mean, I was really saddened by the news. It was a complete shock. They kept it under wraps because she's pretty high ranking, and just kept it. And I was told I could go in then and go talk to her, and but they wanted me. They closed the door. It was that important for them for me to not be in shock and walk out of my office, and to let me calm down and everything, because they knew that wear my heart on my sleeve, and we were very close. Anyway, so I guess my question to you is, how did I create that?
It's not how did you create that,
or why did I create it, or what would you say?
It's because what I would say for me was that was another opportunity for me to remember the truth. And that was another opportunity. So another opportunity to remember that there is no victim.
Yeah.
There's another opportunity to remember that whatever that person is experiencing is something that they're creating as an opportunity to give themselves an even better situation than the one they're already in.
Right.
It's an opportunity for you to remember that the same thing is true for any changes that happen in your life unexpectedly, that you also are connected to source, and that when one door shuts, another door opens.
That's pretty cool, because that's kind of the process I went through.
Right. So that's what it is. It's like you only got two ways to look at anything. You can either look at it in a way that makes you feel separate and afraid and in pain, or you can look at it in a way that allows you to feel connected and allows you to feel more open and loving. But I would like to share that it's important for you to feel your feelings about that person leaving. In other words, don't pretend you don't feel sad. Don't pretend you don't feel grief. Don't pretend that what you do is you fully experience the feeling as much as you can possibly experience it. Then you thank yourself for having the power to create the situation in the first place in order to have this lesson that you're learning.
Deep lesson.
Then you remind yourself that it's not real in the sense that it's not something that's ending that person's opportunity for love and joy and happiness, and that you are the holy child of God, and that you still as God created you, and no matter what happens, you're still that same powerful infinite being you are, and they're still that same powerful infinite being they are, and that you don't know that that's not for that person's own best interest, that you don't really know what's best for them, and what's making you sad is really your judgment,
Yeah.
and not really the situation. How do I know I'm not using the correct judgment? Because I'm thinking that there's some loss that's taking place.
Yeah.
So now you're using your sadness to remember the truth about yourself, because I just went down a whole list of things that you could tell yourself about it, but without pretending you don't feel the grief that you feel about it. So nothing that I'm saying has anything to do with sweeping your real feelings under the rug in the name of being positive and being spiritual.
Okay.
The first thing you do is feel what you feel, then you tell yourself the truth about it.
Right.
And that's what that was. That's another opportunity to do that. Because for all you know, that person could walk out of the door and come up on the best opportunity that they've ever experienced in their life.
And I kept telling myself
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah.
that she's going to go off to a new, better adventure.
And her soul created that for her own learning experience. You know, what we don't get is that we planned everything before we came. And we set it up so that we would have certain experiences that we would have to see ourselves evolve out of in order to reclaim our power. One of the examples of that that's real obvious is a baby. Nothing's more helpless than a baby. So think about this. There was a being that chose, according to this thought system, there's a being that chose to be born completely helpless, right? And then what does that being do if it gets normal nurturing? That being grows up and becomes more and more aware of its power, more and more educated, more and more skilled, more and more able to think, till one day they're what's called an adult that looks like it's taking care of itself and figuring things out. So what did you do? So you went from helplessness to power, right? Well then that's the same thing that's happening at a spiritual level. We are spiritual beings that decide to have a human experience where we lost sight of our power just like a baby does, and then we come into the realization of our power again, and so we get a chance to, like a child gets a chance to have their first experience of riding a bike for the first time. One day you'll have the opportunity to have your first experience of levitating. Or you'll have your first experience of thinking something and making it manifest. Or you have your first experience of attracting relationships to you that are beyond anything. In other words, you're going to, as a spiritual being, come into the realization of your power and your abundance and your happiness and your joy. But you start off at first appearing to be in a reality where you're more limited, and it looks like things don't go the way you want it to go completely. Like it looked like things weren't going the way that person would want it to go. But what's really happening is that person is getting a chance now to reclaim their power by recognizing they weren't a victim of what happened, and that they still have the love of God and the love of their Holy Spirit self, their whole self, to take them to another level of adventure and excitement and joy.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I need to remember that
Yeah.
when something happened that freaks me out. See, that's why I'm doing it, because then when I get freaked out, I've already reminded myself of that, and then that's when that information will come back up again. It comes back up when you need it. Like sometimes you think your children aren't listening to you, but then when something happened, you find out that they heard everything you said and they'll do it. But it looks like they're not. So every time I say this stuff, I know in a sense what I'm doing is storing it within my own mind to come up when I need it to come up. And that's why I like to give everybody an opportunity to just say what they heard. You know, because when you do that, it internalizes it more. And certainly we all close enough after all this time to be able to talk in front of each other. You know, just pretend it's after the class. But it's during the class. You see, okay. So, anybody else? Any questions or anything about that at all? Okay. All right. When you find the truth of any brother or sister, you find the truth about yourself. Because for the truth doesn't change. And if who you really are is the truth, how can you be different? Thus, it can be said that the truth and the mind are one in truth. The truth is what is. What is not the truth is illusion. Doesn't this make perfect sense? It's either true or it's not. Either we are eternal spiritual beings, either we are love, or we're not. We create our reality, or we don't. We're either unlimited, or we're not. And so what we are looking at is our attempts to convince ourselves that we are limited. And now we are in the process of undoing that and recognizing that we're not, and we should be having some fun as you recognize it is your divine right to be joyous and happy and abundant. So it really should be fun. It should be an adventure. Some of us are just more dramatic than others. Okay, some of us like horror movies. Some of us like nature films. Some of us like sex movies. Some of us like, you know what I'm saying, action films. And so some of your friends are action film people. And some of your friends are romantics. And some of your friends are absolutely about horror flicks. And so it's no end to the horrors that seem to be going on in their lives. And that horror has the same purpose, which is to what? Help them remember who they really are. And as soon as they take that as their goal, then there's no need to continue to have that movie any longer than they want it. Now, if they want the movie, you got to let them play the movie out, because it's not really bad. It's just the way they're choosing to play it out. That's deep, isn't it? Because we're so used to thinking of, well, this is bad, so I need to fix it and I need to change it. But if you really knew that that was what that person chose at some level for their own realization of the truth, then you wouldn't be so quick to interfere. Because you know they have the same access to the truth that you do. And when they want to, they could ask for help if they wanted to, and they would receive it just like you do. Deep. Deep. So that second paragraph I just read, 31:31, what is not the truth is a lie. Okay, ready, got that?
Yep.
Okay. Plain and simple. Okay. What is not the truth is false. It's an illusion. What is not love is fear. And fear is not love. So that means that love doesn't contain any fear. Say that one more time. Love doesn't contain any fear. So I love you and I fear you is not true. I'm either loving you or fearing you. But I'm not loving you in my fear. Like sometimes when people think about how they feel with what they call love at first sight, if they would be honest with themselves, it's the same feeling they get when the dog's chasing them down the street. It's fear. You clutch yourself. And then instead of moving toward the person, you move away. Oh, I don't know. See, that's not what you're going to do. You can't resist love. You can only resist fear. But in truth, you can't. It can look like you're resisting love, but the truth is, if what you love and what you want shows up and you can have it, you can't resist it. So the whole idea of resisting what you want is really erroneous. You can't resist what you really want and you can have. Why would you? You wouldn't want to. That's why the person that wants a piece of pie, and they really, really want a piece of pie, and you offer them a piece of pie, and they can reach over there and eat the piece of pie, they're probably going to eat the piece of pie. So who is the person that says that who doesn't eat the piece of pie? It's the person who doesn't want to eat the piece of pie. So I'm trying to lose 5 pounds, and I think not eating a piece of pie is going to help. Why is it I don't eat the piece of pie? Because I don't want to eat the piece of pie. That's why I didn't eat it. Even if I called it being tempted and then I didn't eat it. The truth is, your desire for what was beyond the piece of pie was greater than the appeal of the piece of pie. So the way that you go beyond an obstacle is through the attraction of the thing beyond it. And it will pull you right past the block. My desire to lose 10 pounds pulled me past the apple pie. If I really didn't want to lose 10 pounds, if I thought that was which doesn't matter really, because even the fact that you think you need to is a judgment. Really. You know, all the ways that people are trying to rearrange themselves to look, to be okay, is really just a reflection of their judgment of what they think beauty is, and it has nothing to do with the truth at all. You know, which is interesting when you think about it. You know, because the one thing that happens as you begin to wake up to who you really are is you realize there are no ugly people. They're not anywhere in the eyes of love. It's really deep. It's until you start experiencing it, it just sounds like poppycock.
Yeah.
But have you ever been in love or thought you were in love with somebody and they looked really, really beautiful and good to you, and then when you had a grievance against them, you go, why was I with them in the first place? Look at that nose. How did I overlook that nose? You know what I'm saying? It's because you were looking at them with the eyes of love.
Yeah.
You were loving them. And when you love something, just in the hood, it's all good. That's what we used to say when I was growing up. Oh man, what's going on? It's all good. You know? So the more afraid you become, the more ugly everything becomes. And then the more unafraid you are, the more beautiful everything looks. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Any thoughts about that paragraph before I go to the next paragraph? That's some cool stuff. That's why I'm taking it slow, because I'm taking it slow. Okay, now. It's a deep reason. It's deep. It's deep. That's deep, isn't it? It is in this perfect sense of the perfect sanity of truth that salvation lies. Salvation is simply your return to yourself. So when the Course mentions the word salvation, it's just saying, I am returning to myself. I need salvation means I need to return to myself. I need to return to myself. I don't feel peace. I need to return to myself. I don't feel fulfilled. I need to return to myself. I'm feeling angry. I need to return to myself. That's what salvation means. I came for the salvation of the world. The Course in Miracles lesson would be, I came for the returning to myself of the world. You know, I need to return to myself in the world. I need to have a human experience that's unlimited and unrestricted based on who I really am. I always used to tell people that those who play with the idea of reincarnation, I used to say all the time, I wouldn't mind coming back to the earth if I still remembered I was an unlimited being and could do anything I wanted to do in any minute, and I couldn't be hurt, and I didn't die, and I was loved. And this would be like what I'm learning to see it as, an amusement park. With an unlimited budget. This is Disney World gone wild. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be a t-shirt. Disney World gone wild. Because just like in any amusement park, there's some rides you like and some rides you don't.
That's right.
And some rides you do and some rides you don't do. So some people get on the marriage ride, but they don't get on the black man skiing down a slope in Colorado ride. I'm gonna tell you who that is. But you see what I'm saying? So it's really you doing it for the what? Thrill of it, which is the way that it makes you feel. So the more you wake up, the more you're doing things based on feeling, which means to have a direct experience of it. You know, you'll get to the point on the path that you want to have a direct experience of love. You want to have a direct experience of joy. You want to have a direct experience of abundance. You want to have a direct experience. Your feelings are just direct experiences that you're giving yourself. I give myself a direct experience of guilt. I can give myself a direct experience of joy. So we remember what we experience more than what we hear. More people will come back to this class based on how they felt when they were here than anything they heard me say. They'll even bring people and the person would say, they told me I just need to come. They couldn't really even say what you even said. That you just need to come, because they were going by what they felt. So you don't want to do anything, if you can help it, that doesn't evoke feeling. And I was realizing how much of my life was not evoking passion and feeling. And so the last few weeks, I've been opening myself up to what is it I feel like doing, feel like creating. Where do I feel like going? Who do I feel like being around? Who do I feel? What do I feel? Not what do I think? Who I think I want to see, who is it that I feel like seeing? Whole different ball game. What kind of class do I feel like doing? What do I, that's what I'm asking myself about what I'm going to do after this book. When we finish Course of Love. What do I feel like doing next? And so I asked the Holy Spirit, what do you want me to do next? Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to say? So I'm not coming up with my agenda yet next. I'm asking constantly what I should be doing next. And I know whatever that the Holy Spirit tells me to do will first and foremost be something that inspires me and something I can feel. So you wake up in the morning with that on your mind. What can I do today that inspires me? What can I do today that I feel? That's why people get in special relationships a lot, because it's the one thing they create that generates a feeling in their life. They get excited about seeing the person, they're excited about making love to the person, they're excited about going to the movie, excited about laughing, excited about the fact we're going to touch each other. It's all about the feeling, but when you're doing it from a place of fear, you only want that feeling for you. You want to be the only one who feels that feeling with that person. When you're afraid, okay? When you're in love, you want everyone to feel the feeling that you're feeling. Doesn't mean you're going to do the same thing with everybody, at least not at this level of consciousness. I mean, when you really recognize there is nobody else, that changes the game too. You can't cheat on yourself. Think about that sometime. So yes.
Please repeat that.
You can't cheat on yourself.
No, the other, just before that.
I don't know. I don't really, because I'm sharing what's coming through me, not what I'm making up. So sometimes it's hard for me to remember what I just said.
Thank you.
Yeah, but thanks for asking. Okay.
It'll be on the CD though.
It'll be on the internet.
This reminds me of it's something I've always remembered, that I know there's only three guys here, but when we started playing ball or things like that when we were little, we're taught it's not if you win or lose, it's how you play the game.
Right.
And you've always alluded to, we're playing the game, and,
Right.
and the idea is to have fun playing the game.
Because that's why you play any game.
That's right.
But no one has to play any game. See, that's the thing that you got to think about a game. It's like people say, well, why would somebody play a game of being a human being that had to go through the kind of stuff we're going through? Well, why would somebody play the game of carrying a little ball down the field and you got 300-pound guys all trying to clobber you? Right? All games are arbitrary.
Yeah.
All games. Why do you bowl?
Yeah.
It's not like your life depends on it. You know what I'm saying? So same thing about relationships. It's not like you're going to really die if that person isn't there. So it's a game too. It's not like you're going to die if you're an artist and no one buys your painting. So all of it's a game. But when you forget it's a game, then you get caught with get caught up in the game. And then all of a sudden you're being manipulated by the game because you've forgotten you're the one that decided to play the game. And you can also go, I'm throwing in my hand. And I'm getting up from the table and thank y'all, I had a great time playing for the last hour. And that's where I feel about the fear game, the separation game, the attack game, the no taking responsibility for your experience game. It's like, great, I played that game, it was a great game, I had lots of drama, lots of cool stuff happened, but personally Earl is through with that game. I'm ready to play the innocent game, the joy game, the freedom game, the abundance game, the sanity game, the peace game. I want to form relationships that the purpose of the relationship is to free each other's unlimited self. not to limit it, but you with me to help me unlimit me, and I'm with you to help you unlimit you, not limit you more. Yeah, but there's some people that want to play that game, and I have some friends that want to play that game, and then I have some friends that don't want to play that game, and both of them are equally innocent. Because they're both, as long as you're using your freedom to choose what you want to do, then you're using your freedom, right? Even if I choose my freedom to focus on one person, or if I use my freedom to focus on many people, I'm still using my freedom equally. So in both cases, I'm just as free. Follow what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, because it's ultimately my choice, so therefore it's the use of my freedom. Okay, so I'm never knocking the forms of relationships that we have. It's just that there's some forms of doing relationships that I don't want to play that game anymore. And what I don't do anymore that I used to do, I would try to get someone to play the new game with me who still wanted to play the old game because I wanted to play with them. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? You meet them and you go, I want to play with you. You know, right? And then they might go, well, I don't want to play with you. And then I got to realize they're saying they don't want to play with me because at some level I want them to say, I don't want to play with you. And so then there's no reason to get upset with them, and also no reason to try to get them to change their mind, because they're saying to me exactly what I want them to say to me, because the truth teaches that everything that seems to happen to me I ask for and receive as I have asked. See, that's another level of consciousness. Like we're hearing that thing about we ask for everything all the time, but we don't apply it to everything. And that's so expanding your level of consciousness just means you are applying the truth to more and more things in people and situations in your reality. It means he calls it generalizing the truth. That you're starting to include more and more and more and more and more people in practicing the truth. And it starts with one. It's like, can I treat one person sanely? Who should it be? Who should it be the person that I try to treat sanely? Well, I think it should be the person that was chosen for me to learn with, which would be anybody I have a special relationship with. Well, who is that? Anyone I've singled out for my attention. That's who I'm supposed to practice the truth with. That's why they're special to me. They are the one I'm supposed to be living this with. So I would live it with my husband first, my child first, my mama first, my lover first. Why? Because those are my special relationships. So usually those are the relationships that are most far away from the truth, that need to be reclaimed. Because those are the people that we have the greatest tendency to project on, blame, or try to change. So the person who appears to be the most special person to you is also the person who has the potential to free you up and help you get in touch with your power more than anybody else. Cool. It's like you got your personal fuel tank. And you call it your special relationship. And this is why why? Because that's where I'm most tempted to not practice the truth, by holding them responsible for some form of happiness that I'm supposed to experience, to the point that I get upset with them if they didn't do it. So this is where my power is hidden right now, right inside this person, because this is the person I can give myself discomfort with as well as bliss with. So thank you, God, for putting the person that's most helpful to me in my personal life as a personal relationship that I call a special love relationship. Win-win situation. I got my one-on-one, and I'm also using it to free me up, to help me remind myself of who I really am. We're both sufficiently afraid that we don't want to do with nobody else but each other. And we call it monogamy. You're not going to go outside of me for your lesson, and I'm not going to go outside of you for certain lessons. There are certain lessons we're reserving just for each other. In most cases, especially the sexual ones in a monogamous relationship. So you already know in a monogamous relationship what you've already decided you all are going to work on exclusively together. It's whatever you do that you won't share with anybody else. That becomes your personal project where you recover your energy and your power and your truth. And that's a blessing. You know, you got a full-time lab partner assigned directly to you. Those of you in those kind of relationships should be happy. You know? Yes.
Yes, Earl.
Mm-hmm.
I love you all. I just want to ask, where does the action of faith and carrying through that fit in with what you're saying?
Everything that I'm saying fits in with that, because it's only through faith that you be willing to do something that's completely different from anything you've ever been taught. The mere fact that you would be willing to do anything that I'm talking about is an act of faith. Because if you think about it, there's very little in the world that says what we just are saying to each other tonight. So in a sense, if you think about it, why should we even be here? I mean, based on what you read, what you see, what you hear in the world, why are we even here? That's not even any logical reason why we would be here learning new thought concepts, really. So there's got to be something within us individually that's triggering us to want to look at things totally different from the way the rest of the whole world does it. Mm-hmm. That would have to be something internal, because you're not seeing it on the NBC Nightly News. You're not going to see it in the Denver Post. So why are we here? You know what I'm saying? So there must be something within us, like almost like an alarm went off within us that makes us become seekers. In other words, we reached the limit of our limits. And then we decided we were going to go back to the realization of our unlimited self. Then we started attracting curriculums and teachings and workshops and teachers and books that we ourselves hid until we were ready to study them to wake up. Because all the books, many of the books we read and study for enlightenment, most of our friends don't even know they exist. And you didn't either until you wanted to look at things differently. So it's almost like you hid and I hid treasures that we weren't going to discover until we were serious about waking up. And then all of a sudden these books show up and these teachers show up and these workshops show up. And we don't even realize they're showing up because we already decided to wake up again. We are creating them. You created this class. You created me sitting here talking to you like this. It's you wanting to hear this. Woo. So that means anybody in your life right now would have to be there by divine order as part of the script you set up to come to the realization of your power. So then you can feel blessed for everybody that's in your life, because you know they're there by divine order and not by accident. Makes you feel a lot better about the people in your life.
It does.
Yeah, you fully enjoy people that you really believe are there for your benefit. It kind of goes together. Like the more you feel appreciation, the more you want to connect. Right? Yeah. So let's see what's next.
Okay.
All right? If your sister and brother seeks the truth or salvation from you, and you seek the truth or salvation from them, so it lets you know salvation and truth means the same thing. So if you seek truth, which is salvation, from them, they're seeking it from you, what's truly occurring? Good question. How can this work? You're seeking it from me, I'm seeking it from you. This is but another aspect of giving and receiving being one in truth. Giving and receiving are both taking place, both at the same time, as are seeking and finding once you are aware of what it is you seek. The once you are aware of what you are seeking, then you recognize when you find it. It's hard to know that you found what you're looking for. It's hard to know you found what you're looking for if you don't know what it looks like. You came here looking for Earl Purdy and you knew what he looked like. There's an entirely different experience from walking in the room looking for Earl Purdy and not knowing what he looks like. Earl Purdy could be sitting right in front of you and you wouldn't be able to receive him. That's what the Course is saying to us. We don't know what real happiness looks like. So we're always seeking something we wouldn't recognize if it even showed up until we were told what it's like. Real love doesn't attack you. Real love isn't going to make you feel guilty. Real love isn't going to try to hurt you. Real love isn't going to try to limit you. And so now that I know what real love looks like, and if I'm talking to somebody, I can tell whether or not they're offering me real love. So I would know whether I found it or not. And then if I was talking to somebody who was talking like what I just said, sincerely, then I would know I had walked up on a representation of real love. So now I know what to say yes to and what to say no to. But when I didn't know, I was always trying to hook up with different people, hoping it'd work out. Because they had pretty eyes. Because that's what was turning me on, was their eyes. I had a relationship one time that I created that was so full of jealousy around what I would possibly do sexually with someone else that I used to want to say, I wish I could just take my penis and unscrew it and leave it in a jar so that I could leave out of the house in peace. And just have a good time. And I used to say that I'd give anything. This is going to give a whole new meaning to screwing.
Yes.
And so I would be going, I want to unscrew. Could I unscrew with you? I said, I like to get real in my class. I talk to adults and I want to act like I'm talking to adults. I get tired of being in classes where the teachers talk to me like I'm 11 years old. And then watch the adults act like they're 11 years old. Because then you mention something sexual and they get uncomfortable. It's like, that's just like a 12-year-old. Grow up.
Did she leave her vagina in a jar?
Well, I wasn't requiring it.
That's a ring to it.
Because it's a funny thing about wanting freedom. When you want it for yourself, for real, the first way you will know it is you're willing to give it to everybody else. So since I wanted freedom, I was doing everything I could to give it. So therefore I was not making that request because I wanted my freedom to be. So you can always tell what people want by what they give. If you really want to know what somebody wants, just watch what they give, because that's what they're really asking for, and that's what the universe is going to give them. It's because giving actually, at a metaphysical level, giving is the same as asking. Like if giving and receiving is the same, then you really could say what I give is what I'm asking for. Right? So therefore, if I want to ask for something, I try to give it. You know, I give hugs on Sunday and I receive hugs on Sunday. How do you know I don't mind being hugged? Because I hug. You know, how do you know I want to be free? Because anyone in any kind of personal relationship with me will tell you the one thing that I always tell them all the time, I don't care how deep the relationship gets, I don't care how special the relationship gets, is you are free. Now, we can be free and then act special. But we know we playing special. That when it really comes down to it, I still know you free to be yourself and I'm free to be myself. But we're going to pretend now that it's just me and you and nobody else, because that's the play we want to do right now. But we still are not so insane that we actually think we are really limiting each other. Does that make sense to what I'm saying? In other words, you know the truth and then you play the game. You might want to play the monogamy game, you might want to play the open game, you might want to play the single game, you might want to play the rich game, you might want to play the poor game, you might want to play the self-employed game, you might want to play the game you're the healer, you might want to play the game, you see what I'm saying? You remember who you are, and then you play in the game that you want to play, fully realizing you're the one that's creating the game that you're playing. Then you enjoy your life. Because then you never get so serious about it that you can't get to that point where you say, there is nothing in this outer world that I'm going to allow to affect me any longer. I have let it affect me as much as I am. And I bet some of you have said that before, where you went, okay, this is great, I have reached my limit, and I'm not giving any more energy to this at all anymore. That's you getting in touch with your own psychic territorial power, where you just go, sorry world, you're not going to encroach any more further than this. And everybody's got that spot. Okay, so you always keep that spot sacred. And then you go out and you play in the game that you want to play in the world, fully realizing it is a game, and that's the one you're going to be the most successful at. It's the game you know is a game. But the person who forgets it's a game is the one who loses. That's the definition of loss, is to forget it's your game. You set it up. You're the one that's in charge of it. But you have guidance. You're the leader, but you have guidance. I'm going on safari, I get a guide, I'm still the leader, but I'd be stupid not to follow the guy that ended up getting eaten by a lion. But I'm still in charge. You follow what I'm saying? And that's what the Course in Miracles says. The Holy Spirit is our guide, our higher self is our guide, but we also are in charge of the journey because we're the ones who decided, obviously, to have the human experience. How do I know that? I'm human. So it was a big commitment. Wasn't it? I mean, this was if anything that we're studying is true, we made a heck of a commitment.
Yeah.
So either we can enjoy the commitment that we made to have this experience, or we can spend the rest of our life having drama, which is okay. And when you wake up, you'll know it's okay because you know that person is choosing to do that. That they have an option, it's available, they're not using it right now because they want to have that experience right now. That's opposite to what the world teaches us. That's why we know it'll work.
Yeah.
That's how you can always tell us something. What does the world believe? Well, I'm going to do just the opposite. That's why I make a lot of my decisions. What does the world say a relationship should be like? Okay, then I know the truth is a relationship is nothing like that. How does the world say you should make money? Trying to earn it, trying to figure out, analyze, make it, plan, retirement, go to work every day. And all the miserable people, what are they doing? That. Okay, so therefore we know that true abundance must not have anything to do with that at all. And that's the way I go, okay, how is it that you receive opposite to what I'm seeing everybody do, including what because I know that must be the way money really comes. And the Course said, yeah, this is the way it really comes. Recognize you are sustained by the love of God. Recognize that you're here to show that love is possible and it's possible to be peaceful here, and you're going to be supported and given everything you need by spirit in order to survive well in order to do that. That's the way a conscious being lives. They're constantly asking for guidance and following guidance every moment to moment, which always leads them into everything they need, and everything they need is given to them. A person who's still in the other phase, they're busy trying to figure out how they're going to make money or how they're going to get a relationship or whatever. They're figuring out. So one is figuring, one is listening. One is figuring, one is listening. See the difference? Mm-hmm. Yeah. One is I'm trying to figure out how to get to Pete's Kitchen. At the corner, another one is going, how do you get to Pete's Kitchen? Well, you go to the sidewalk and you make a right, and if you go about a block, you're going to see Pete's Kitchen. Well, what do you mean by Pete's Kitchen? Which Pete's Kitchen was the Pete's Kitchen? You know what I'm saying? It's like the ego wants to analyze it rather than follow it. Or better yet, the ego wants to figure out how to get to Pete's Kitchen without asking someone who knows how to get to Pete's Kitchen. I think about my GPS and how it to me, it's my God positioning system. I got the God positioning system or a good positioning system, and then I got the regular kind in the car. And I noticed that whether I went overseas or whether I traveled around the country teaching, my GPS is on my phone. And it's amazing how much safer I feel with my phone, no matter where I am. Because I always feel what? I'm in contact with the whole. I can instantly be in contact with the whole, which is a proof right there that a feeling of safety comes from being in communication and joining and not in really being separate. If I was there without a phone, without a GPS, didn't know my way around, separation is a much more frightening position than me being in London with a phone that I can call people and a GPS that I can find my way around the city. And the truth is telling us the same thing. You need to get in this frame of mind that you're ready to, you're willing to have a communication and a GPS, right? And this is our GPS. It's like telling us how to get to the peace that we're looking for if we'll listen. But if my GPS, which sometimes says turn to the left, and then I go, I don't believe that, I'm gonna turn to the right, then in most cases I'm the one that comes up short. You see, and that's what we do. The Course says turn toward taking responsibility for your experience, realizing that the only thing that you can do in a relationship is remember who you really are and get in touch with your power, and that's what it's really for. I'm gonna go to the left. Oh, the real reason I'm in a relationship is for this person to complete me and make me happy and do what I say and act out my fantasies and act out my script in and of itself. That's where my happiness is located. Fantasies are most enjoyed with people who know their fantasies. Fantasies are not most enjoyed with people who think it's about the fantasy. You got to realize the truth behind the fantasy, then you can enjoy the fantasy. Just like when we were kids. I really enjoyed playing a cowboy. Really, when I really believed I was a cowboy for a while. But as long as I didn't forget I wasn't a cowboy, I'm all right. And I used to do theater. And it's like, okay, I don't mind playing the role. The guy in the play was my worst enemy, and we killed each other in the play. Then we went out to dinner afterwards. We kill each other in the play, and then we go out to dinner afterwards. Explanation for murder. We kill each other in the play, not in reality. And every actor chooses to play that part. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Some people lose their parents at a young age because that was part of the agreement between them and the parent for them to come to the realization of who they really are. Which doesn't make God cruel. All of a sudden that idea of God being cruel goes out of the window because you realize that nobody died, but they set up a scenario to learn certain lessons. There were lessons I was going to only learn in this life if I came in a black body that was born in Memphis, Tennessee, in the South in 1950. But I chose that for my soul's growth. Wow. So my looking at it that way gets rid of prejudice, gets rid of victim consciousness, gets rid of thinking that somebody did something to me. And then the people who were supposed to be my greatest enemies turned out to be my greatest friends. You see what I'm saying? And that's the way it always works out. Your power is always hidden in whoever gives you the greatest discomfort, and whatever situation makes you feel the most uncomfortable. That's where your greatest gifts are located, because that's where your power is hidden. That's where you've given your power away. So thanks for listening to this much from me, Holy Spirit. Helping me remember the truth. Helping me remember the truth. Wow, 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 wow. So let's do the love offering, Holy Spirit. I'm catching up on all the classes that I've done, putting them online, so I just added 4 more, and I'll be adding 3 or 4 a day until we get caught up. Because I was getting a lot of emails and stuff from people who was like, what's going on? I really want to continue to follow where you're coming from. So it was very gratifying to me to see how many people on the internet are really appreciating what's coming through me. It always makes you give more when you feel appreciated, and I feel appreciated by you, but it makes a difference. That's one of the most powerful tools in your toolbox of happiness is, guess what? I'm so grateful for you and what I experienced with you and what I learned with you. All that you give is given to yourself. And those of you who share with me, I really appreciate it, because that is one way of showing appreciation when you think you're receiving something of value from someone, especially when you know that person is just like you with the same responsibilities in the world that you have. A hug is one thing, but paper strips that come through people who appreciate what I do to help me pay my rent is appreciated too. Okay, I'm just like anybody else in here, even though it's the rumor that if you're in something spiritual, you just exist off the ethers. That's not true. But the Holy Spirit and God has sustained me for 25 years doing what I want to do every day. So I'm thankful to God, I'm thankful to you, and I'm thankful to myself for being willing to do what's necessary to have it happen. That's what you're supposed to do. That's why the Course has a lesson that goes, it can be but my gratitude I earn. It's a workbook lesson. That's the title of it. Why? Because God's always trying to give me everything. So if I finally let myself have it, I really should be grateful to me. Because I'm loving myself enough now to let myself receive love and support. You follow what I'm saying? So it really is my gratitude I earn. Because it's given, I can dip into the well, right? So the well is there, but I got to be grateful to myself and having the willingness to put the bucket in it. So every time something happens really wonderful in your life, say to yourself, it can be but my gratitude I earn. I'm grateful that I let myself receive what's being given to me as my divine right. My inheritance. Yeah, that's what we should do. All right, so we're going to go out into the lab, right? And we know the purpose of everything and everybody that we're going to meet now. We know that everybody is doing what? They're going to give us an opportunity to remember who we are, right? And so what they're doing is giving you an opportunity to run down as many truths as you can think of that you've learned to yourself when the situation come up.
That's right.
See what I'm saying? You were given an opportunity. Okay, what did I study in that book? All right, what did the book say about that? What spirit said about this? About perhaps how would I look at this if I was going to practice the course? How would I look at this if I was going to practice the course of love? So that's what you do. You go, what would the truth tell me to say about this? I know what the world would say. Yeah, the person was a victim, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I know the world's going to say that. But what would I say based on what I'm learning? That's when you know you live in the truth. When you don't use the explanations of anything that the world taught you. My boss is out to get me. They don't like me. They trying to hurt me. Oh, that's every day somebody saying that. So you know that is not what our truth is teaching us to say. Our truth is teaching us to say, I created that. I'm learning the lesson for that. It's for my own best interest. I'm not a victim of this situation. I'm going to feel it like it is, and I'm going to ask for something different. See the difference? That's why we study it. So that when the stuff come up, we'll actually say this stuff. I wanted to break it to you, but that's why, Earl, you're studying this so you can use it. Well, thank you very much, Earl. I appreciate it. I love you, Earl. You can be with your gratitude you earn, dude. All right, I love y'all. Thank you for coming. Let's do it. Let's do it. Lord have mercy. All right.
You give hugs on Thursdays too?
I give hugs on Thursdays.